Thank you. How are you this afternoon? Hopefully you're awake. I'm going to put this on so I can hear your responses, because I might talk to you sometimes, if that's okay. See if I can do this with an earring on. All right. My name is Andrea Ingram. I'm Vice President of Education and Guest Services at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, right down the street from the Field Museum, which was recently referenced. I really want to thank you for the honor of being here this afternoon. This opportunity provided me with some time to really think about where we are in the U.S. in science education, the challenges that we face, which we spend a lot of time thinking about, but really pondering why would people in Korea want to talk to us about science education, because you all have figured out so much about it, and we have a great deal to learn from you. So again, I want to thank you for this honor of coming here. And today, as an overview of what we'll talk about, is we're going to talk a little bit about the structure for creating opportunities for our youth to learn, to create environments that support creativity, to help develop them into our next generations of innovators and creative scientists. First, I really want to know who is in the audience. Do we have parents in the audience at all? Are you going to respond? Parents? Educators? Teachers? Okay. Anybody from science museums? Over there. Researchers? Okay, just real briefly, so you might not know, the Museum of Science and Industry indeed is the largest science center in the Western Hemisphere. We have about 14 acres of exhibition space. We do pale in comparison to the size of the Smithsonian, but for the type of science center that we are, we're quite large. We've also just come through a period of significant transformation in which we've invested substantially in building large-scale inspirational exhibitions and the extended learning strategies to leverage that content into our communities, into our schools, and to support our families in engaging their children. So I want to ask a very basic question, and hopefully we'll be able to communicate on this. But does everybody agree that the most exciting part of a soccer game is when a goal is scored? Come on, a goal? Come on. You got that score, that's the wow, that's the excitement of a soccer game. And in fact, when there is a goal scored, that often inspires curiosity where maybe none existed. Because I might have been pulled to the soccer game or the hockey game and couldn't have cared less, but all of a sudden I want to know something about that person that scored. Is that common? Is that unusual? Do they score regularly? Is this first game they've ever played and that's a really super cool event? Or is this the guy that scores absolutely every time? Well, let's see if I can figure out this. Well, that did not work. So, we should have had there we go. Science is the same thing. We need a wow. We need to capture the attention of our youth. We have to show them that there's something exciting and interesting in science. You know, almost every time you talk to somebody who indeed is a scientist or an engineer or is involved in any of these art forms, you ask them what got them involved, and there frequently was an accident or an experiment gone awry or an explosion. Explosions are big. In fact, we're going to be hearing from Kimmy Joan, a colleague up at Northwestern University in Chicago. I was up there a couple weeks ago talking to some PhD candidates who were involved in different types of scientific research. And I asked that question, what got you into science? And at least half of them came up with an example that involved fire or an explosion. And a couple of them, much like my husband, was an experiment gone awry in chemistry that involved melting glass and things like that. So we can't skip over that moment of inspiration, that wow, is critical, just like in the soccer goal, to inspiring people to ask questions, to build their curiosity. See if I can get this right. Yes. Another critical component is doing. So again, some of us might not like the idea of standing at a research table, but who likes to do projects? Art projects, construction projects, science projects. There are a lot of different types of projects, and these involve skills of creating, of problem solving. We see problems, we solve problems, we fix them. Sometimes we do it alone, sometimes we do it together. But as we do so, we develop a record of knowledge, a context, an experience to connect that knowledge to. I have a daughter who is wandering around here somewhere, and she hopefully is not here because she's not a real active reader. She's never been a fan of reading. She has not learned that way. She's learned by doing. And I remember one day she came home and she said, "Mom, you really need to go to this parent meeting because they're going to have these activities. They're science activities. And you do not have to learn anything if you do not want to." And so she wanted me to go to this meeting so she could do these fun science activities where she didn't have to learn. Well, clearly she was going to learn, and she does learn. She learns quite well by doing projects. She can sit there for hours solving problems and creating, just like these two young women are. But for her, the entry point is doing, and for many of us, that is the same. So I want to ask another really simple question, which you may or may not respond to, which is how many, you've all been to school, right? Kids in school? How many of you have spent hours at a desk pondering a problem and you just can't grab a hold of it? You know you're smart, you know you're looking at the right book, but you just can't figure it out for yourself. And you spend hours sitting there and you reapproach and you think about it a different way. Maybe you wander off, read another book and reapproach it. And then you take a break. Maybe you're going for a snack, maybe you're going to the restroom, and you run into a colleague. And you start to chat with that colleague, and by the time you get back to your desk, that desk that you've been sitting at for hours on end, you have the solution. You've broken through. So many of us, all of us, learn really well together. It is not necessarily natural. Collaboration is an art form. In fact, I think that many of us instill in our children some traits that are the antithesis of collaboration. We become super competitive. We want to do the best. We want to own that A, and we want to own that A by ourselves. I recall when I was little, I refused to use a cake mix while baking because I felt like I wouldn't get full credit for the product if I used the cake mix. Some of our kids are that same way, but the reality is that good products come through strong collaboration of multiple competencies. And as we're building our systems of education, we must create opportunities for our children to learn this art form. So the moral of this introductory story is, would you rather learn by cutting an eyeball open yourself or sitting at a desk and reading a textbook? And I think there is a lot of research and anecdotal and personal experience to believe that we actually indeed learned better by doing the fun stuff. We recall it better. And it is imperative that as we design our systems of education, that we create these opportunities for our youth. So now, again, this is my long way of saying there's a lot of stuff I don't have to talk about because we already know it. It's a brilliant time to come into science education because we already know a lot about how people learn. We know a lot about how to teach them. What we're struggling with is how to apply it in appropriate contexts that have an impact. And so that's really what we're talking about here today. Learning styles, we know that people learn in different ways. I'm not sure we really know why. I'm not sure that we all pop out preferring to learn by watching rather than by reading. But I think for whatever reasons, we know that some people need to connect in a lot of different ways. And that we must be cognizant as people interested in science education not to unduly skew how we are providing information and engagement opportunities in science too heavily to one type of learner. So if we are back to that other slide where we had a couple of young women looking at a textbook, if we are focusing on success being measured by those who are primarily successful through reading, we might be losing some incredibly innovative and creative talent from those kids that are more doers earlier. So we must be guarded against defining people as the science kids